Long ago, in a mysterious castle high in the misty mountains of Transylvania, there lived a man named Count Dracula. His castle was surrounded by dark forests and steep hills, with clouds that often brushed against its towers. People in the nearby villages whispered strange stories about him, especially when the sun set and the moon rose in the sky. Count Dracula was no ordinary nobleman. According to the tales, he was a vampire. Vampires were thought to be magical creatures who stayed up at night and slept during the day. And they could live for hundreds of years. Some even said they could turn into bats or disappear into a mist. The most famous story about Count Dracula comes from a book published in 1897, written by an Irish author named Bram Stoker. In this book, a young lawyer named Jonathan Harker visits Dracula's castle to help him buy a house in London. Jonathan thought Dracula seemed polite at first, though he had pale skin, sharp teeth, and a strange way of moving. But as Jonathan spent more time in the castle, he realized something was very odd. The Count never appeared during the day, and his reflection did not show up in mirrors. Jonathan also found locked doors and secret passages that only Dracula could use. Jonathan decided to explore the castle one day and discovered Dracula sleeping in a wooden box. It was then that he truly believed Dracula was not a human at all, but a vampire. Jonathan escaped as fast as he could and told his friends back in England about the strange Count. When Dracula followed Jonathan to England, other characters in the story worked together to stop him. They learned that vampires could not go outside in the sunshine and that they could be scared away by special things like garlic and crosses. They also discovered that vampires couldn't cross water easily or enter a house unless someone invited them inside. Together, Jonathan and his friends tracked Dracula all the way back to his castle in Transylvania. They finally defeated him, and everyone was safe again. Even though the Count was gone, the legend of Dracula lived on. Readers were fascinated by this strange vampire who liked to travel in the dark and hide away in his ancient castle. Since then, Dracula and other vampires have appeared in hundreds of movies, plays, cartoons, and comic books. Sometimes they are shown as scary and spooky, and other times they are made into funny or friendly characters. Some versions of Dracula wear a long cape, speak in a spooky voice, and hide in the shadows. Others are shown as lonely, clever characters who wish they could live normal lives like humans. People enjoy telling new vampire stories because they can imagine all kinds of magical powers, like turning into a bat, moving without a sound, or living forever. Over time, vampires became part of popular culture. Children dress up as Dracula for Halloween, wearing a black cape and plastic fangs. Halloween parties often feature fake cobwebs, glowing pumpkins, and spooky music to make it feel like a vampire's castle. There are also cartoons and movies that show vampires as helpful or kind. In these stories, vampires drink red juice instead of blood, and sometimes help people who need a brave friend. Even though Bram Stoker's book was published more than 100 years ago, people still love telling his story. Readers and moviegoers enjoy the mystery of a character who stays forever in the shadows and comes out when the world is asleep. From books and movies to costumes and games, Dracula and other vampires will probably keep appearing whenever someone is ready for a spooky story.